Let's be honest, what's the point of building something incredible if it just crumbles the second you walk away? We're not talking about building something for a few years or even a decade. We're talking about building something that lasts forever. It's a huge question, and today we're going to dig into an ancient blueprint that might just have the answer.
So let me paint a picture for you. You've got this leader, a total rock star. They step into a company that's basically on life support, and for 10 straight years, they pour their heart and soul into it. They fix the broken culture, they get the profits back on track, and they give people a reason to believe again. I mean, they did everything right. Mission accomplished. Time to retire, right?
And then, poof, it all just vanished. The new leader comes in, undoes all the great work, the culture turns toxic, all the best people head for the exits, and the company tanks. 18 months. That's all it took for a decade of amazing work to become just a little footnote in a history book.
Now, you might be thinking, wow, what a sad story. But here's the kicker. This isn't the exception, it's the rule. I mean, just look at these numbers. 70% of big change initiatives, they just don't stick. The average transformation, all that hard work, falls apart just over 3 years after the leader leaves. And get this, only a tiny 10% survive even 2 leadership changes. This isn't a fluke, it's a massive systemic problem.
So, the big question is, how do we fix this? Here's our game plan. First, we're going to define what we mean by the vanishing legacy problem. Then we'll uncover a really cool ancient blueprint for making things permanent. We'll break that blueprint down into its 3 key parts: the enduring spirit, the living words, and generational transmission. And finally, we'll bring it all back to you and the final test of your own legacy.
So yeah, let's put a name to this thing. We're calling it the vanishing legacy problem. It's that nagging question. Why does so much positive change, so much hard work, just evaporate the moment its champion walks out the door?
Well, it really boils down to 2 totally different ways of building things. The most common model is leadership dependent. It's all built around one person's personality, their charisma, their sheer force of will, and when they go, the power source gets unplugged. But there's another way, a covenant-based model. This is where the change isn't just in a person, it's baked into the DNA of the organization itself. It's designed to last.
And that brings us to the really exciting part, the solution. We're going to look at this incredible, ancient blueprint for creating that kind of permanent change, a structure that actually keeps itself going.
Now, this model actually comes from a passage in Isaiah. And hey, no matter what your background is, just look at the architecture it describes. This is a promise of a transformation that is specifically designed to outlast the person who starts it. It talks about a spirit that won't leave, words that are always present, and a system for passing it all down to the next generation and the next forever. That right there, that's the blueprint. So let's pull that apart. It gives us 3 essential pillars for building something that lasts. First, you need the spirit. That's your self-sustaining culture. Second, you need the words. Those are the core values that actually guide what people do every single day. And third, you need the transmission, a way of passing the torch that makes the culture even stronger, not weaker. All right, let's dive into that first one, the enduring spirit. This is all about creating a culture that's so deep and so real that it doesn't just walk out the door when people do. So what in the world do we mean by organizational spirit? Think of it like the organization's personality, or its DNA. It's that invisible force, it's the way we do things around here that guides everyone, even when the boss isn't looking. And this is the crucial part. It knows how to teach itself to new people who join. Okay, sounds great, but how do you actually build it? Well, Amazon is a masterclass in this. They don't just have a poster that says customer obsession. They build it into their rituals. Forcing people to write a press release first makes them think from the customer's point of view. Banning PowerPoint for 6-page memos forces deep, clear thinking. These aren't just quirks, they're rituals that created a spirit so strong it didn't even blink when Jeff Bezos stepped down as CEO. Another powerful way to build spirit is through stories. You've probably heard the one about Nordstrom taking back a set of tires, even though they don't sell tires. Now, who knows if it's 100% true, but that's not the point. The point is that for decades, that story has been told to every new hire to transfer the cultural DNA. Trust your people and do whatever it takes to help the customer. The story carries the spirit. So now you have this powerful, energetic spirit. But a spirit without guidance can just be chaos. And that's where our second pillar comes in, the living words. This is about getting your values off the wall and into the hallways. And that leads us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? How do you take words from some dusty, framed mission statement and turn them into a living, breathing force that shapes what people do every single day? One of the best ways is to make your words a real-world decision filter. Patagonia does this better than almost anyone. Before they make any big decision, a new product, a new factory, they ask one simple question. Is it good for the planet? If the answer's no, they just don't do it. End of story. The words aren't a suggestion, they're a hard and fast rule. And for words to really live, they have to have teeth. They need to have consequences. Just look at Netflix. A core value for them is excellence. So how do they enforce it? With their famous rule, adequate performance gets a generous severance. Now that sounds harsh, but it sends an unmistakable message to everyone. We are absolutely serious about being the best.
Okay, so you've got the spirit and you've got the words. But this last piece, this is the one where almost everybody fails. Generational transmission. How do you make sure you can pass the torch to the next generation of leaders without setting the whole thing on fire?
If you want a masterclass in what happens when this goes wrong, look at Disney. After Walt died, the company just lost its magic for nearly 20 years. They went through these cycles of getting better and then getting worse again. It took almost 40 years to get back on solid ground. That's what happens when passing on the vision isn't baked into the system.
Now let's flip that and look at the Mayo Clinic. Over a century of incredible culture. How? They have a system. All of their leaders are grown from the inside. They require them to keep practicing medicine so they never lose touch with the mission. And when they pick leaders, they look for people who live the values first and are competent second. They don't hire leaders, they cultivate cultural guardians. Okay, let's bring this all home. The spirit, the words, the transmission. Let's see how these three things lock together to create a true covenant, something that can actually stand the test of time.
This table just makes it crystal clear why you need all three. You have spirit without words, that's just passionate chaos. All energy, no direction. You have words without spirit? Ugh, that's a lifeless bureaucracy where everyone just follows the rules. And the most heartbreaking one, spirit and words, but no plan for transmission? That's our hero from the beginning of the story. A beautiful change that's built to be temporary.
And all of this leads to the one final gut check question every single leader has to ask. It's not how great can we be while I'm here. It's much simpler and much harder. It's will this outlive me?
Look, this can't just be an interesting idea. It's a call to action. So I want to leave you with 3 things you can literally do this week. First, try to draft a one-pager that defines your covenant. What's your spirit? What are your words? And what's your transmission plan? Second, name the single biggest threat that could kill your culture after you're gone. And third, build one specific, tangible thing to protect against that threat. Because your real work isn't just about what happens on your watch. If you build it right, it can go on forever.